It's worth thinking a little bit more about Nigel Farage's role in energising the riots and criticising the police. Farage, this prominent political figure, now in the House of Commons, has been both condemned and supported for his remarks, which have arguably fuelled tensions and led to widespread disorder. He's not been referenced directly by the Prime Minister. Over the past week, the UK has witnessed severe riots, particularly anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim in nature, and these disturbances were sparked by misinformation surrounding a tragic incident in Southport where 3 young girls were fatally stabbed and others were badly injured. False claims about the suspect's identity, particularly suggesting he was a Muslim asylum seeker, exacerbated the situation and were not helped by the fact that Farage seemed to support those claims put out by RT, Russia Today, and by other misinformation organs. As violence erupted, a hotel housing asylum seekers in Rotherham was set ablaze, symbolising the intensity of the riots, and mosques were attacked. Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, has been at the centre of this turmoil due to his statements that have been interpreted as inflammatory. He criticised what he termed soft policing of previous Black Lives Matter protests, claiming this leniency contributed to a sense of injustice and the current unrest. There is no link between Black Lives Matters and these thuggish attacks on immigrants. Farage's comments drew parallels between these riots and the Black Lives Matter protests, implying that the latter's handling set a precedent for leniency and that rioters are now exploiting that. Complete rot. Complete and utter rot. Farage is throwing up glitter in an attempt that we will be deceived into thinking that he is being thoughtful about this and placing the riots that are happening now in some sort of historical context. He is stirring the pot. In his statement, he has expressed his dismay at the violence, saying, I've been totally appalled by the level of violence seen in the last couple of days. The levels of intimidation and threat to life have no place in a functioning democracy. Well, he's further argued that the debate should take place on the population explosion and suggested that the use of the army would be credible if the situation worsened. His comments have been met with a significant backlash from various quarters. Dame Priti Patel, the former Home Secretary, has firmly rejected his comparison between the current riots and the BLM protests. She highlighted the stark differences, saying there's a clear difference between effectively blocking streets or roads being closed to burning down libraries, hotels, food banks, attacking places of worship. What we have seen is thuggery, violence and racism. Well, for once I agree with Priti Patel. The Labour MP Dawn Butler was even more direct. She has accused Farage of hypocrisy. You have the nerve to blame BLM for something you've stoked. Understand the consequences of your actions. Similarly, Brendan Cox, the husband of the murdered MP Joe Cox, compared Farage to an arsonist. Shocked by a fire, he started saying, "Arsonist calls fire brigade," while explaining why the fire was inevitable and justified. Absolutely. Farage has also called for Parliament to be recalled to address the underlying issues behind the riots, emphasising the need for a more honest debate on topics such as immigration. It's not his job to recall Parliament. That's the job of the Prime Minister. Farage wants to get in there so that he can say, well, I call for Parliament to be recalled. It's my initiative. We must have a more honest debate about these vital issues, he said, and give people the confidence that they are political solutions that are relevant to them. A recall of Parliament would be an appropriate start to this. This call has found some support, notably from MPs like Diane Abbott and Dawn Butler, who agree that the unrest requires urgent political attention. It does. However, this suggestion was also met with criticism. The Home Office Minister, Lord Hanson, points out that Farage is absent at a recent statement on Southport in the Commons, suggests that if Farage wants to influence the debate, he should participate directly in parliamentary discussions rather than doing it from Twitter. Farage wants Parliament when it suits his interests, and he doesn't want it when it doesn't. Now he wants to stand up and be heard within the context of Parliament. His involvement in the recent riots and his comments on the police response have stirred public opinion, have prompted political discourse, and while he frames his remarks as a call for addressing long-standing issues, many people would see them as irresponsible and inflammatory. His comparison to the BLM protests, his critique of two-tier policing, his call for military intervention reflect a broader narrative he's long championed concerning immigration and national security, but mostly they reflect the narrative that Farage wants to be heard. Farage wants to be the decisive voice in any situation. We need to look at his statements critically. Farage's rhetoric can be seen as a double-edged sword. While it brings certain issues to the forefront, it also risks exacerbating divisions and inciting further violence. As the country grapples with these complex challenges, balanced and measured political dialogue rather than incendiary remarks from a person who has got skin in the game is essential for fostering unity and addressing the root causes of unrest. If Farage wanted to contribute anything, he should be calling for peace. But he doesn't. He tries to justify the reasons, he tries to explain the reasons why the rioters are out on the streets. That is not the appropriate response of an elected politician. That is the response of a thug and a rabble-rouser.